If you look at the architecture of the system, tracing it from the first industrial revolution to the creation of the Fed in 1913, the 1930s reset, and the 1971 petrodollar shift, the pattern shows we are at the end stage of the current monetary cycle. When a system built on continuous debt expansion hits its physical and mathematical limit, it doesn't just quietly fade away. History shows it transitions through four specific aggressive phases. Here is what the pattern indicates is coming next. 1. The death of the old medium, fiat inflation, and purchasing power erosion. Before a system completely resets, the old currency is intentionally or unintentionally devalued to pay off unpayable debts. The reality: governments cannot pay off tens of trillions in debt with real value, so they inflate the currency to pay it back with cheaper dollars. The result: the cost of tangible assets, land, food, energy, housing, real commodities, skyrockets relative to wages. The middle class gets squeezed out of real ownership, shifting the economy from an ownership model to a subscription/rental model. 2. The forced rules. Rewrite the digital reset. In 1933, they took away gold ownership. In 1971, they severed the dollar from gold entirely. The next structural shift isn't going to be back to gold. It is going to be central bank digital currencies, CBDCs, and algorithmic ledger controls. What happens? As the paper/fiat fractional reserve system breaks under its own debt weight, central banks step in with a solution to save the financial structure. The mechanism: they transition the populace to programmable, fully trackable digital fiat. This allows central banks to control velocity, implement negative interest rates directly on holdings, and manage panics instantly by controlling liquidity at the individual user level. 3. Automation. Replacing the industrial labor base. The first and second industrial revolutions relied on massive human labor forces in factories. The fourth industrial shift, AI, robotics, automated logistics, is breaking the traditional link between human labor and survival value. The stagnation. Industrial capacity will remain high, but the need for traditional wage labor will drop significantly. The tension. A capitalist system requires consumers with money to buy products. If automation eliminates millions of middle-tier jobs, from trucking and logistics to office administration, the system faces a fundamental crisis. Who buys the goods produced by the automated machine? 4. Bipolar hegemony and resource realignment. The 1944 Bretton Woods Agreement made the U.S. dollar the unquestioned center of the world. That 80-year unipolar era is fragmenting. The shift: the world is splitting into competing economic blocks. The Western financial network versus the resource-backed BRICS Plus network. The impact: energy, mineral, food, and manufacturing supply chains are being reshored and militarized. The era of cheap globalized goods and frictionless international trade is closing, bringing structurally higher baseline costs for everything physical. The core summary: the system is not going to dissolve into a Hollywood-style apocalypse where money ceases to exist and society stops overnight. It resets by changing the rules of the game. The pattern shows we are moving out of the 1971 petrodollar/paper debt era and entering the digital ledger/automated resource era. The transition period, where the old money loses its power before the new system is fully clamped down, is where the friction, instability, and wealth transfers occur. The question to debate: if the reset isn't an outright end of the world, but rather a transition to total digital currency control and automated labor, do you think the general public accepts the new digital rules to avoid chaos, or does the resistance to that level of control create the real breakdown?